What's up, everybody? It is Zach, the Dark Conservatarian, and I am here with my cousin Kris here. Say hi, Kris.
Hey there, how's it going?
It's going all right. It's a pretty mild-mannered day for me today, right now. I did a run this morning, and then of course I worked all day, and then I had a bite to eat at one of my favorite local bars, and now I'm here
Very nice.
interviewing you.
Awesome. All right.
How was your day?
Oh, good. I have just been trying to get some documentation sorted, had a lot of calls to get through, and yeah, just a long day, honestly. I mean, I work. Did my picture come through? I think it did.
Yeah, I finally did.
Nice. I work, in the evenings most nights, so this is one of my days off. So I was really just trying to get everything done I could, especially because right now we seem to have stable internet, so I'm able to do everything okay.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, anyway, to sort of get introductions out of the way, to get down to the issues, this is a little bit of an impromptu live stream. I did not make any announcements ahead of time to it for anyone, but in case nobody knows, which I think obviously everybody, at least in my community, knows, the RNC just happened recently. There was well, I don't know if you would. Well, a sort of porn star, I guess you could say. For some reason, when my brain gets caught up in whether or not one to call Amber Rose a porn star, it's I almost go thinking like an actual porn movie kind of star. But I guess it still counts. An OnlyFans model and a pagan lady was allowed to pray there at the RNC, and so that issue was kind of brought up and argued about between me and my cousin Kris here on outside mediums outside of YouTube and Twitter and even Discord. And amongst a multitude of other issues that we've been kind of hashing out off and on for the last 8-10 months, talking about the conservatism and the Republican Party and issues of different kinds of extreme beliefs and whether or not that we should take those extremes and be more extreme in our beliefs, I guess, is the best way to surmise about it. Those issues being mainly to do a quick summary, LGBT issues, not necessarily about the leftist activists, because I think that we can both agree that leftist LGBT activists are cringe, right, Kris?
Absolutely.
Yes, but issues that kind of cover homosexuality and transgenderism and that kind of stuff, suffice to say, and a multitude of other issues. And there might even be a bit of a bonus issue that we talk about going towards the last half of this live stream right here. I guess I should have cleared that up with you, Kris, before going on air here. It was going to be about the whole thing of interracial marriage.
We're going to be talking about that? I mean, I'll talk about it. I don't have a ton to say on it, but I mean, I have some takes on it that I think might be a bit controversial. But I don't think
not right now. Not right now. I want to get the more pertinent topic first and foremost out of the way. The whole interracial marriage thing, I guess, is not that big of a deal because you ultimately did tell me that you don't want to ban it or anything like that. But just there was suffice to say, at least interesting conversation that you and I had with each other on private DMs, and I thought that I would just get some clarification, and best way to do that, why not get the clarification out on a public sphere like this? And since you're not too fickle on it to want to shy away from it, you're not so much feeling want to shy away from the topic. We'll talk about that, but later on. But first of all, I guess we'll talk about the RNC specifically. And I guess to kind of spoil it to everybody, yes, it was, well, not so much my cousin Kris here, but someone else over Facebook who shared the Jay Dyer video, and I made a response to it. And Kris was kind of coming to bat to Jay Dyer as well. So without me babbling any further, Kris, what are your thoughts on the whole issue right there? And just enlighten us.
So, when it comes to the Jay Dyer video specifically, I think that Jay Dyer has a certain dry humor that isn't for everybody. I do think he is 100% unironic in his beliefs, but sometimes, like you said, he presents it in a dickish way, which to me, I'm not turned off by it personally, but I understand why some
Sure.
people might be.
I
Um,
mean, I wasn't one to like go on so much about how I had an issue with his opening bit of mockery, but even if he did not do that, he just has a certain type of conservative, uh, con ink, conservative ink kind of elitism with the way that he talks that I don't like. That kind of turns me off from wanting to listen to him. If you
sure,
know what I mean, right there.
sure. Well, just for a little background on him specifically, Jay Dyer is an Orthodox Christian, Eastern Orthodox. Just like me, I'm in the catechumen process of that. So we were both, I will say, we were both from a much more
You're a what
traditional church,
variety of that?
Eastern Orthodox Christianity. It's
Well, you said that you were some fancy term.
catechumen. So catechumen, it's the same thing in the Catholic Church. So basically, I'm in the process of getting chrismated and getting baptized in the church. So that's where I'm at.
Succatic or sutatic?
Catechumen.
Catechumen?
Catechumen. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cat cumin, like the spice.
Yeah. 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 A
Okay.
little bit. Yeah. Exactly. But it's like Catholicism. It's a very traditional form of Christianity. So it's not just for a little context. It's not like he's just some Protestant Baptist, non-denominational guy who's just spouting off because he doesn't like something in particular. The church he's a part of and the church I'm a part of does and has held the line on these issues even more strictly than I would say Catholics do. So it is that is a little bit of context I think is necessary, because to me, if he was just Protestant, I think the argument that he's just spouting his personal beliefs and being judgmental would be a little more of a salient argument, I suppose. Well, when it comes to him in particular, Jay Dyer, I think he hits the root of an issue that a lot of other conservative commentators aren't willing to. So Michael Knowles, he had on Nala Ray a couple months ago, I believe. And Nala Ray is an OnlyFans model, or was an OnlyFans model, I should say.
I thought it was Amber Rose who
Amber Rose. So Amber Rose spoke at the RNC, right?
Yeah, and I thought that was the one that Michael Knowles interviewed like some time before the RNC.
He may have interviewed her as well. I'm not sure. Amber Rose is Kanye West's ex-girlfriend from I think 2008. They broke up around 2009 or 10, if I recall. And so for her specifically, she's more of like a lingerie model, stripper model, from what I understand, from what I was reading about. Whereas Nala Ray is like a full-on like OnlyFans porn star. Like she, if you ever heard her on the whatever podcast before her conversion, she went into some very graphic detail about what she did, and to me, it wasn't great stuff.
Converted. This other chick converted to what? From what to what?
She converted from atheism to Christianity, OnlyFans to a church. But there's something important to note with her specifically, which is that, and I remember one of my friends, I talked to him last week. He went to the RNC and was talking about Amber Rose. We talked about Nala Ray. He was like a Gen Z representative there, I think, where he would go and film the event, talk to different people about issues. And for the most part, I think he gets a lot of issues right. But on those issues specifically, he started quoting how Jesus didn't throw the stone, how it says, do not judge. We are all sinners. All sin is equal. My issue is, and specifically with Nala Ray, is that these are not people who we are just accepting in and allowing to be there at the event. These are people that are speaking with authority. And the things they're speaking about, to me, I don't even think they're really helpful. Nala Ray was talking about how important baptism is, but saying how she got her father to do it in a church that they are establishing. So Nala Ray is about to be a pastor at the church she is building herself, and she's about to bring in probably a lot of people, I presume, into her church where she's the leader. And to me, I have a great issue with that.
She's baptizing at the church that she's starting?
Yep. And she's going to start baptizing people.
That's an issue. Why?
That's an issue. Why? Because she's not a Christian leader. There's nothing about her that makes her a Christian leader. Just because she had a sin, then talked about how she converted. To me, if you listen to her conversion, it's not a real conversion either. All she could talk about is she realized how special she was, and if she could, she'd go back in time and give her younger self a hug. That is not repentance. That is self-congratulating. She's self-congratulating herself over getting over her sin. And to be frank, I think she's converting her audience from an OnlyFans platform into a church platform, a conservative platform.
I think I can get what you mean with that. A baptism is not meaningful unless you're like truly repentant and all that stuff. But
Yes.
I guess what is kind of giving me the hang up here is I never realized that there was some kind of prerequisite requirement, which might be a bit of a redundant statement, but still some kind of prerequisite that you had to meet before you got baptized.
Yes, I'm not baptized yet. The process I am going through is one on which I learn and repent of my sins, and I learn about the church I'm joining to make sure it is something I'm going to be aligned with, something I'm going to follow and believe in. And then once that is done, which could be a matter of, for some people, months, and for some people, years, depending on whatever hangups or issues they have, that's when I will be chrismated and baptized in this church.
I guess then there's a possible. Well, I don't know. I mean, we can both agree that baptism isn't really needed for salvation, right? Or are you of the belief that somebody does need to be baptized or else be damned?
I believe people need to be baptized. However, there is a caveat there. This is for people. If someone were to refuse baptism directly and refuse to join the church directly, for example, if I were to refuse to join the church and be baptized now, I do actually believe I would be damned. I can't speak to people like infants, for example. Infants, I believe, are in the hands of God. I don't believe they're damned. People who never hear about the church,
obvious exception right there. But let's stick with like teenagers and adults, for example.
Yeah. If you are an adult or a teenager, someone of sound mind, I believe it is best that you join the church. I believe that salvation is through the church only. Those who do not join the church, they are going to be judged by God, and I believe God is just. I believe that if their hearts aren't for God and they've purposely not made the steps necessary, then God will judge them accordingly. I do believe that salvation is in the church, though. That is the way that God has shown us. And any other ways to salvation are not known to us, and we should not assume them. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, because I'm wondering what verse does it say of where that a person absolutely has to join a church or else they shall not enter the kingdom of heaven? Because the only things that I know that were required, well, definitely accepting Jesus as the Messiah, as your Lord and Savior, accepting His sacrifice. However, those wordings right there are kind of intertwinable. But anyway, saying that God is like the only God, and also at least doing your best to obey the rest of the commands that you can. Not necessarily to say that oh, I asked for forgiveness of my sins yesterday, but I looked at a woman with lust in my heart, and oh, I got hit by a bus. Now I'm dead. So I forgot to ask for. So I forgot to repent for that one time that I
Can I stop you there? So I think you're using a very technical approach to salvation when it's not how it should be. That's the way Talmudic Jews feel about salvation. If they're saved, they feel that they can lose salvation on technicality. They feel that they gain salvation on technicalities throughout their day.
We don't believe I'm not saying no. That's what I'm trying to get down to. I'm not saying that you need to get hung up on the technicalities in order to get to salvation. What I'm saying is that I don't think that if you repent one night for all your life sins, and then the next morning you commit some kind of sin, and then the same following afternoon you die and you forgot to repent of that one sin, you are definitely being damned. I'm not saying that is the case. I'm saying that you don't have to be an absolutely perfect repenter for you to be saved. But I
And,
guess what I'm trying to ask is, what verse is there that implies a requirement that you absolutely must be actively going to a church, or else you are not saved?
there isn't a specific verse. There's a lot throughout the New Testament that talks
Okay.
about what is needed. The church fathers expound on it after the time of Christ. The church fathers, who I will note, had the Bible itself compiled and the canon established, said that it was necessary to go to church.
Are you
Very
sure they?
necessary.
Sure, yeah, I believe it's necessary, but I don't believe it's necessarily required
What do you
like
mean
a
required though?
hardcore mandate. I
Is it
do think that it's a good idea, and I mean, the next question that I was going to ask, are you sure that they weren't just encouraging it, saying that's a very good idea to help build and enforce your faith?
I have a question. Is it a very good idea for me to live with my wife as much as I can?
Yes.
Okay. Is the marriage automatically dissolved just because maybe I'm not here all the time as much as I should be? If I, for
Like,
example, have to go on a trip, let's say I get drafted, even, there are different
yeah,
circumstances that would take me away that maybe in some cases are necessary.
or
And
some other kind of business trip, yeah.
I believe God, being the just God, would understand that. And I believe a healthy marriage, there is a certain amount that would be allowed and maybe necessary. However, if I
Oh,
am blatantly not coming home and blatantly not spending time, that once again doesn't mean that marriage is necessarily dissolved, but it does mean that I am now playing with fire. I am now seeing how far I
sure.
can take my flippantness, how far I can be unloyal and unfaithful. Normally, when people start doing that, and those things start compounding on themselves, it's going to result in more of that. And so that's how I see it. It is very necessary for me to be at home and spend time with my wife. And even though it is not always required of me, you're going to start facing issues the more you let go of those things. And for God, being the perfect God, you can always come back to God, right? God's not going to
Sure.
permanently leave you in this life. However, on your end, you can start falling into habits where you will not seek out God. You will start facing a spiritual rot, and that won't be on God. That will be on you for pulling yourself towards that, guiding
And,
yourself on a path towards that.
and to kind of expound on what you said earlier about marriage, that it's just a good idea to spend as much time that you can, anyways, with your wife. You did not actually say it's about intentions, but I think I can like extrapolate that that's one thing that you're kind of implying. Is that it's about
Yes.
intentions. Like by the same token, bringing it back to churches and church going, I guess if a person was leaving a church and decided not to go to a church or any churches because they really cannot find a church that is like spiritually fulfilling for them, that is different from, say, for example, somebody just not going to a church just because they think that they're so prideful, think that they are just okay the way that they are. They don't want to like spend their
Right.
Sundays on a weekly basis, even like just communitizing, if that's even a word,
Right.
with their fellow church goers, let alone
Yep.
listening to a sermon, see if they will eventually, one out of 300 sermons, hear something new that they haven't heard before, or something like that. The
Yep.
latter part right there, I will not say the latter thing the latter concept right there that I just said as far as church going goes. I want to say it's definitely something that would call into question. I don't want to like say that this person is definitely damned or something like that, but it definitely is a bad precedent. It
Right.
sets a bad precedent and would make somebody kind of suspicious almost.
Yeah.
Like, are they
And I
really
won't.
saved or are they just pious and huffing their own Christian pious farts?
Right. And this is the thing is I'm not gonna, for the most part, I'm not gonna speak on who's damned and who isn't. There are indicators, but we don't get to speak on, oh, this person was definitely damned. About the only person we can say is damned is as far as human beings go. Judas is probably about the only one we can safely say, simply because Jesus said it would be better if he was never born. That's about the only person we can say is almost certainly damned. But aside from
Damn.
that, it's not just about, oh, look at that person, they suck. It's about who is leading the household, right? If someone points out that the leader of the household is someone who is not following what they're supposed to, or that someone else has been placed in charge who should not be in charge because they are actually poisoning the well, that is something that is very important to note, because if you do not note that, the structure, whether it's a family unit, a church, whatever it is, will fall apart if those things are not resolved.
And I guess this is you trying to like take it back to Nala Ray.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Nala Ray, Amber Rose, and they're not the only ones. Those are more explicit examples. I think there are a lot of people currently in the Republican National Convention, or not, yeah, who are at the Republican National Convention, who are in the Republican Party, who I don't think represent our values. And to me, it's interesting because I see a lot of people, they panic over it. They're like, oh my gosh, the RNC is ruined. That's not my mindset at all. My mindset is the same one I had with my church when I saw a lot of different issues there. It wasn't about, oh, look, we have to fix this specific body. I would actually rather push people towards a new party. I don't think that this is a structure that we can really save at this point. I think it would be best to start a new party. I think the fact that the one person we thought was going to make a huge difference and bring us back to conservative values, Donald Trump, who I still do like for lots of reasons, he's in the same boat. He might not be as extreme, but I mean, he chose J.D. Vance as his running mate, and J.D. Vance is more extreme on Israel support. He's more extreme on a lot of different things that I just don't think are conducive to a conservative movement. I mean, J.D. Vance.
How is the support of Israel like against conservatism? Because if anything, I would think that being in support of Israel was more within the stereotype of conservatism, American conservatism.
Of a Republican, yes. Conservative, no. I think that we've been duped into supporting a country that doesn't support our values.
I mean, I will say ultimately, I don't think that it's really yay or nay on whether or not you're a true conservative, if whether or not that you support Israel, be it in a monetary or military or even just a vocal sense, or you don't support them at all.
Did you see the Netanyahu speech?
I did not. I heard about it.
Every single Republican up there, he said two things that were of note. He said, if Donald Trump was assassinated, I would expect them to go to war with Iran, which everyone clapped for, and Donald Trump retweeted, by the way. And then he also, in the midst of talking about how they need more money from America, more defensive support, more money, every single Republican stood up and did a standing ovation.
Well, that's definitely a bad thing in its own right. Like, I don't want to get wrapped up in a foreign war because of that. Is, you know what, that is absolutely kooky when you mention it. Like,
there's nothing American about it. This is a foreign country that's not just any foreign country. We don't do this for any other country. It's a country that explicitly hates Christians, and I'm going to be very blunt about this because it's true.
Israel,
the inhabitants of Israel hate Christians. When my Protestant pastor went, they put on the yarmulke and they kiss the wall and they do the song and dance, and they all pretend like, oh, that we love you. My priest, my Orthodox priest, and there's a story for every single one of them who goes to walk the path of Jesus. They get spit on by all the rabbis, and it's also illegal to preach the gospel there, by the way. This is a country, and for me, America is a Christian.
Really?
Country. Yeah, no, they spit on the priests.
No. I mean, the alienation that Judaists have against freaking Christians. That's not the thing that I was saying. Wasn't really surprised about. But I'm talking about the illegal preaching the gospel.
Yep, it is prohibited to, namely for, I believe, other Talmudic Jews. I don't know what their policy would be on the the Palestinian population, the Muslim population there.
I'll have to definitely go back and look, because I keep on hearing things that take me back and forth on whether or not that I know that Israel is like some anti-Christian nation in the same way of China or something like that.
China is more pro-America than Israel is. Israel's better at hiding their anti-America.
What?
100%. Israel.
Okay, citation needed or explanation needed. That is a nuclear take right there.
I want you to I want you to look up where the phrase melting pot comes from. You want to know a country that has been changing the. You know the phrase melting pot?
No, I know the phrase melting pot, but what's that got to do anything with whether or not that China or Israel or which one of them is more pro-America or not?
Which one has been more successful at destroying American values?
China.
Why? How?
I think with the way that that they had such a stranglehold on some of our Hollywood media, and even in some other indirect ways that they influence us, is definitely a bad effect on our country.
China has more effect on our media than Israel.
Yeah, as far as like if you're talking about like foreign countries, like you're not going to go on some tangent about why are all these media owners Jewish.
I don't have to go on a tangent. It sounds like you already are familiar with it.
Was that word that you were leading up to?
No, I don't have to. I believe it speaks for itself. I don't really need to have a
discussion. No, what was that the point that you were making was because that they're
that is a president.
Because their ethnic wait. Because their ethnic heritage is Jewish, therefore that's bad.
No, because of what they do specifically is bad. If they were just not making media that was bad and not making anti-American media and not giving all their money to Israel, then no, it wouldn't be bad. I don't think
that has nothing to do with them being Jewish, though.
It actually has everything to do with them being Jewish. It's their identity. God. No, I'm serious.
Mask off, Chris. Mask off.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it has everything to do with it because the Judaism today is Talmudic Judaism, and every principle that they put into the media can be traced back to a tenet in the Talmud, which is how they treat us, how they feel about us. You can listen to former Talmudic Jews about this. They will talk about it. Most of them aren't allowed to, but they will talk about it. They will talk about what their values are, how it is opposed to our values, how they feel about Christianity. Everyone wants to ask, why is our media less Christian? Why is our media more pornographic? Why is our media this? Why is our media designed? Why are our movies designed?
So you're saying that these people are bad because they're Jews, or because they're bad because of what values they hold?
Values, and
that has nothing to do with them being Jewish.
Okay, I don't know how that makes sense. If Christians have certain values, then how would it not have anything to do with them being Christian?
Well, because for one thing, I had an old friend back in my childhood who was a Messianic Jew. They were of Jewish heritage, but they were ultimately of the Messianic type of where that they accept Jesus as their savior.
They weren't Jewish heritage, by the way. They had just simply converted to Jewish principles. Because if they were Messianic Jew is not a heritage thing. It is simply a denomination of Christianity.
I'm not talking about the religious side of it. I'm talking about how that they were like ethnically Jewish.
No, that's fine. No, and I'm not saying every single
that Jew they were like what?
I'm not saying every single Jew is automatically ascribing to Jewish beliefs. I'm simply saying that the Jews who are in charge of media follow those principles. They might not follow they might not even be Orthodox Jews in that sense, but they do follow the tenets of culture. They take their look. You're saying it has nothing to do with them being Jewish. Ask them. They would say it has everything to do. That their beliefs are based completely on this. They would not say it has nothing to do with it.
It's because are you talking about the religious side, or are you talking about the ethnic bloodline side?
It can be both. It depends who we're talking about. Ben Shapiro, for him, it's the bloodline side. It's the Orthodox side. It's both. For certain people in Hollywood,
I wholesale reject. Ben Shapiro might be flawed, and he might prioritize Israel a bit much, but that's not to say that he's like explicitly and blatantly and specifically anti-America.
Ben Shapiro said that my loyalty to America goes as far as America's loyalty to Israel. He said if America stopped supporting Israel, he would leave.
I will definitely have to
I'll find the clip.
Re-listened to, I guess, this one episode that I listened to recently.
It was at
Because
a
rarity.
college
It's a
campus.
rarity. It's a rarity that I listen to Ben Shapiro nowadays. But at the same time, there's this one episode of where that he said something that kind of made me think the opposite of that. As far as America supporting Israel, I mean, in what context are we talking about? Was he saying that as if once the U.S. stops giving money, or once the Israel like starts declaring war, or well, maybe not so much declaring war, but getting in some kind of Cold War, quasi Cold War type of situation with Israel? Therefore, it's I'm leaving America. I hate America.
I think I don't remember the full clip. It was at a college campus. Someone was asking him a question. I do know that he was speaking to his alignment with America and Israel. People were asking who he was loyal to. And so when he puts it that way, I think he means exactly what he says. He means that if Israel has a specific action that America doesn't necessarily support, that doesn't necessarily mean he's leaving. But if America were to take specific action against Israel and say, we're going to sanction you over this, you're not allowed to do this, and start putting pressures on Israel, I believe he would. I don't know if he'd necessarily leave. He says he would. But he would definitely be coming out against the United States over Israel.
Okay.
You can see he has a very emotional response to the events right now, which I understand, but
yeah,
it seems like that's all it is. It's not like there was the whole burning, like the burned babies that was AI generated. He posted that immediately and started saying how this was a justification to basically kill all the Palestinians, and it was an AI generated image. So someone like that, I don't think is someone we should be taking seriously on policy, especially American policy.
Well, okay, and to kind of bring it back a bit, so maybe I'll just give you the benefit of doubt as far as the Israel question. But let's say like forever, America never goes at least explicitly against Israel in the way of putting political pressures or something or other like that. Outside of that issue, though, Ben Shapiro does not go against American values in so much that he's like pro gun control or something or otherwise. So to say that he's like a good example of, because that was what this tangent, how this tangent that we gone on came to be in the first place, is which is more against American values, China or Israel. Now you can say that Ben Shapiro, whether or not he's for American values, is dependent on whether or not that America is also mutually for Israel existing as a country or whatnot. But that's not to say that he is like currently and explicitly saying we need to like abolish the Constitution or do stuff to subvert it or anything else like that. I'd say that there's still more of a case to be made that China is like doing more of that stuff. And maybe there are some Jewish media owners who have a leftist bent that also want to subvert the culture of America. Politically make everybody leftist and so forth. But what?
The ADL, that's what it is. It falls on the more conservative wing of it for sure, but there are companies like the ADL, who, by the way, Ben Shapiro has worked with in the past. He sent hit pieces over to them. The ADL is a good example of a leftist organization that is Jewish run. And by the way, it's not just me speculating. It's the Anti-Defamation League. It was designed actually to stop blood libel against Jews. So, you know, maybe some of that was valid. This is an organization that has actually funded and backed critical race theory. This is the idea that, you know, whites are bad. Whites have systemically oppressed blacks. Every single person you see who writes an article about.
And is the ADL like funded by the Jewish government or excuse me, the Israeli government or something?
ADL was funded. Yes, I believe it is. I could be wrong about that. I believe that at least to some extent it was actually founded by Israel, or not founded, but funded by Israel. They got some backing at it at some point. I don't know about that right now. But that's
ADL funded by Israel.
If not, then its donors, or the people who fund it, are Israeli. So even if it's not the government themselves, the people who found it are at least in part Israeli, because most of them have dual citizenship if they're in America. which, just to put all cards on the table, aside from, I don't know, like Canada and Greenland, I would actually ban dual citizenship. I would say that if you can only hold one citizenship at a time, and you have to choose between them.
I'll certainly agree with that.
It should be allowed in America, at least. Maybe Europe's a different case. There's a lot of different European countries there, very tight knit, close by. But for America specifically, I would really only allow dual citizenship to be held for people in Canada and the 10 people that live in Greenland if they want it.
Sorry, I've been doing a little bit of reading on my search results right there. Maybe I'll save that for a bit later or something. What? What'd you say?
I may have lost you. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? What'd you say?
Can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me? Okay. Apparently,
Let me see.
maybe jump out of the. Okay, I was about to say maybe jump out of the call and then come back in. All right, how are you guys doing in the live chat? Enjoying the show so far? Night Shift, Frank JGZ, and Red Feather. Hello, everybody. All right, I'll hold for General Hux. Oh, oh, I see. Reference to Star Wars right there. Although, side note, Star Wars: The Last Jedi is garbage, utter divisive garbage.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There we go. Okay. Sorry, I don't know if you caught the last bit of what I said about the dual citizenship thing.
I heard you. I think it's you weren't hearing me, and I agree with banning dual citizenship.
Okay, cool. Did you find if the ADL about the thing about the ADL? That was the last thing I heard was you were searching it up.
Yeah, and like I said, I was reading it, and then I realized that I wasn't able to also simultaneously pay attention to you at the same time. So
no worries.
I don't know. Maybe
we'll verify later.
Yeah, maybe we should shelf the issue of Israel for right now. How did we get on the tangent? I mean, it started off from talking about which goes explicitly. Well, I don't know. You did not say explicitly, but which country goes more against American values, China or Israel? What was said right before that?
Oh yeah, we were talking about the RNC. JD Vance. I think JD Vance was a bad choice for Trump, and I think that the Trump was the best, and now we don't have a best. I don't think they're really
because of okay. Now I realize of how that we got here. Well, just because that a conservative is foolishly supporting Israel doesn't mean that they are against conservative values.
Sure.
I mean, and even the whole point of Benjamin Netanyahu, I'm starting to remember a little bit more of the earlier conversation. The whole thing of Bibi Netanyahu, that's definitely stupid in its own right. It's just, I don't think that, unless people are supporting Israel because of being pro-gun control or something like that, I don't think that the support for Israel is inherently an anti-American, specifically conservative value.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's really here nor there. I don't even really think, unless a person wants to declare illegal war, trying to get a declaration of war without the approval of Congress, which that would be explicitly against the Constitution, unless a conservative wanted to do it via that method. I don't even think that wanting to be a war hawk necessarily goes against conservative values in the American conservative sense. And might I emphasize, I'm against neoconservatism in that kind of way, being war hawkish, y'all. So what way is it that JD Vance is not a true conservative aside from Israel?
Well, admittedly, I don't know everything about him, but what I do know is that one, he was against.
I mean, if anything, in fact, sorry, to add even more on this, if anything, he's more anti-gay than even Trump is.
Oh, I mean, I believe
so
that does.
If anything, I mean, at least what I can assume is more of your standard of conservatism. He fits more in the mold of conservatism than even Trump does because of being more anti-gay.
Outwardly, yes. Internally, no. I don't think his actions. Trump actually, I think, has done more than JD Vance when it comes to the gay issue. I think the one thing Trump did, I don't know if I think Biden reversed it, but he did ban trans people from entering the military, at least I think for active duty.
Was that a ban? Was that a hard ban, or was it just saying that we're not going to fund your transgender things?
That could be it. I'm not sure. I will say this: JD Vance, he has the I don't know what you want to call it, but he's been in Congress for longer than Trump, I believe. He's been in office or in politics longer than Trump. So what that does mean is that whatever side he fell on was going to be the Republican side. So, for example, when the Democrats were pushing for gay marriage, and I guess would have been 2010s, 2014s, Obama had just converted from being anti-gay marriage to pro-gay marriage. Whereas the Republicans are mostly still firmly on the side of no, we shouldn't be doing this. And now they've switched. They've all now switched to actually gay marriage is fine. We just don't want the stuff being pushed to the kids, right? And to me, when you have someone like that, where you can say, "Oh, look, he has a track record of this," it's like, yeah, they're going to have a track record that aligns with their party. Trump, the one benefit of him, despite him, having certain things which I don't know, didn't find as conservative, was that he was going to be an outsider. And now he does feel like Trump is no longer an outsider. It feels like he's very much in the circle. He's taking the Republican money, and he's, I think, mostly going with the Republican ideals, which I don't think are the ideals we really need. I mean, this man, he's going out. I remember the stream we did like 6 months ago where I was talking about I wanted Trump because of his energy. His energy is super low now. Even after the shooting, like there was like a burst of energy after the attempted assassination. But I mean, this man's going out. He's like, what's he saying? He's like, we got to stop communism and drill, baby, drill. Like this is nothing. Like this is the man he said to Jeb Bush's face, your brother was in office when the towers came down. They're not sending their best. They're sending rapists. He said he was going to put Hillary Clinton in jail. Like these are just like, it's just not the same anymore. We're going to build a wall and everyone.
Saying that, quoting him saying we need to stop communism is not exactly a good example of him being low energy right now.
It's low energy. It was low energy. It's so vague. It doesn't mean anything. It's it means anything anyone wants.
I mean, honestly, the guy is all.
It's boomer energy to say communism of all things. It's not just communism. What does that even mean? How about this? They're burning your money.
We need to be against the seizing of private property.
Okay, but they're already doing that.
I mean, it's Trump that we're talking about here. This is what I was going to say earlier before I interrupted you. But I mean, this is Trump that we're talking about here. He's always been kind of overly simplistic with his language. Like, so I don't see how him being simplistic with saying we need to stop communism is like an example of him like being radically different now as far as
radically different. It's the same. It's the same that we've always seen. Is my point. It's not radically different from what he was saying. It's just the most generic, basic messaging, and that to me, that's definitely discouraging to see.
I mean,
this is the man who was talking about draining the swamp. How
look,
he knew who the crooks were, and he was going to get rid of them. I'm not worried about China. I'm really not. I'm worried about them burning our money at Wall Street and in the Federal Reserve every day. They're the ones.
Look, I'm like, I would like a further elaboration as well. But seriously, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I say let's continue to be against communism.
No, I'm not saying we don't be against. I'm not saying don't be against communism. I'm just saying there's a much deeper issue than communism. People don't even know what that means. This is another issue too.
I mean, I guess that might be like something I'll have to ask later, but go on.
Chinese communism is very different from Soviet communism, okay? And that's not to me saying I justify it. I like Chinese communism. But it's to say that
are you talking about like modern day modern day China, or are you talking about Mao's
modern day China is very different. I'm not saying it's it's complete
Okay,
capitalist or complete communist. It is a blend of the two, though, and I think
I
that
can definitely agree because if you were about to say that Mao's communist China was different from
no,
Soviet Russia, I would say
in a
I would
couple
kind of
ways, but
disagree with
no.
that.
In a couple ways, maybe, but in generally speaking, no, not really.
Yeah, generally speaking, Mao was not too different from that of Lenin and Stalin. In fact, he took
Yeah,
inspirations from
no,
Lenin.
of
But
course.
go on.
My issue is I think we okay like people even I hear people mostly boomers. My dad was one of them until like a year and a half ago. They were still claiming that Russia was communist, and I just I think that this messaging it doesn't really come across when no one seems to be able to define their terms. I mean, if we want to be really technical, Karl Marx talks about some issues with capitalism that I think are valid. That they're not just valid in the sense of, oh, I like Karl Marx for saying this. It's valid in the sense of he would spout these issues about capitalism. He would explain how they would lead to inefficiencies and even collapse. And then he would say, this is how we're going to get communism. So my issue is a lot of people don't seem to understand that a lot of the economic issues we're facing right now, they might not seem like communist issues, but they are in fact going to lead to it. The way we print money, the way we give out loans, the way we allow high interest to be implemented, and for the banks to take advantage of people. And you can say, oh well, they took it out of their own accord. Yes, but once they are taking it out of their own accord because that's what they're being taught. And once that system is done with, they're going to convert. First of all, the banks are going national, and then they're going to convert us into a much more controlled system. AKA, you want to call it communism or socialism or hyper-capitalism. Doesn't really matter because we're in the 21st century and we don't really know how that's going to take effect, how it's going to look. And I'm sure it will implement a lot of principles of communism, but it will be whatever they want it to be.
Well, be it China's like a modern day quasi communist economy, or Russia's like oligarchic economy, or Mao's communist economy, or Venezuela's like centralized economy, or even our like corrupt corporatist plutocracy, I am like against it all. I think that maybe you should be like saying, instead of being saying the simplistic line, we need to fight communism, he should say we need to fight for economic freedom. And I guess this is where that I will segue into a question that I've been like holding down for a little while, and that I think kind of gets a little bit more to the nub of the issue on who that we should accept within our coalition of the right. Which before I get into my question, this is like another thing that I feel like I should mention as far as the RNC and accepting Amber Heard and the pagan prayer lady and all that stuff.
Amber Rose.
Yeah, Amber. Did I say Amber Rose?
You said Amber Heard.
Amber. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
But anyway, I guess the issue. I guess I might have been getting a bit too hung up with the term of conservatism, because American conservatism, if we were to like go to a more traditional sense of the word, instead of conservatism of the 2000s or the 2010s as opposed to 2020s progressivism, that's not a whole lot of difference. But I'm talking about like American conservatism in what America has been for most of its history: nuclear family, sexual restraint, I guess we can say. If we want to like say that those things are values that are part of and under the umbrella of conservatism, well then, yeah, I will say right now, full disclosure and for the record, y'all, that American conservatism, Amber Rose does not really fit under, as long as she is an OnlyFans model. But at the same time, that's not to say that to rule out that conservatives can't ally up with her on some of the bigger issues. And which those bigger issues I want to ask right now: what are the bigger core issues of what our focus should be, politically speaking, anyways? Not necessarily of just conservatives, What is the most important issue? Is it fighting for, or the more important issues? Is it fighting for economic liberty, for gun rights, and for free speech? Or is it fighting against gay marriage, against trans issues, and against whatever else kind of tradcon beliefs that you and I have argued with over the last year or so?
None of those. None of those are the most important thing. most important thing is to
wait. None of the
you asked me what
former and none of
the most
sorry,
important
I want to
thing.
clarify.
Yeah.
Like, when you say none of those, are you talking about everything I've mentioned, both the former and the latter that I mentioned?
I'm saying none of that is the most important. Yes.
Hmm.
The most important
Okay.
thing is putting American Christians in charge of the country who will have American Christian values and
Oh
actually do
boy.
something about those things. That is the most important thing. People who will put America first, people who will put our values first, and to remove those who will not. And I don't mean by force. I simply mean by pushing them into irrelevancy and voting in people who will do the proper things. That is the
Well,
most
in
important.
that case, I guess we should be refraining from voting for Trump because, as far as I can tell, he's not. I mean,
I'm gonna
I
be honest.
might
That's
not be a true
it's
Christian. Go on.
it's on the table for me not to vote for Trump. If he disavows Project 2025 for a sixth time, I mean, might as well, because I mean he's 5 times now he's disavowed people who helped him get elected in 2016 who have real good values, but because he's
By
VP in
disavowing 2025,
Project
Project 2025.
2025.
He's disavowed the people who helped him get elected by disavowing Project 2025.
Yeah, the people in charge of Project 2025 are his grassroots people who helped him get elected in 2016. They were the people who, by the way,
You
they
are
ran his
for Project
campaign.
2025, just to be clear.
What was that?
You are for Project 2025, just to be clear.
For the most part, I think maybe you could cherry pick something. Maybe I disagree with. I don't know.
I haven't looked too much.
It's a seven. I think it's like a 7,000 page document though. So for whatever the main points are, I agree with.
Well,
and maybe
there is the theory. Sorry, that there is the theory that Project 2025 is a Chinese psyop. I mean, with that theory in mind, could it be possible that Trump is disavowing it for that reason and not necessarily because he's against what they pretend to espouse and be for?
If Project 2025 is a psyop, then Trump was a psyop because the people running Project 2025 were part of his campaign in 2016. So
or maybe
Project 2025 is a psyop, then you might as well believe that the whole Trump campaign was Russian collusion.
Well, I'm not going to say that I agree with anything right here. I'm just putting forth theories. Well, maybe Trump has waken up to who some of his more elite supporters are.
None of the people who were running Project 2025 were elite. The elites didn't come till after 2016, after he was elected. That's when he threw everyone in his campaign to the side in favor of people like what's his name? Blanking on his name. The really skinny, Roger Stone, the really skinny guy that's they got a really pale face. Jared Kushner.
Isn't Jared Kushner his son-in-law?
Yes, but he was one of the people who he put forward who I think ran a lot of his first term into the ground. I think a lot of the people he put in his cabinet were not people who supported him in 2016. They were not people who got him up. A lot of Republicans, including like Cruz, and eventually got DeSantis elected. I think most people know that by now. Most of the people who were in his cabinet, though, were people who were former Republicans who disavowed him, actually, who then wanted a piece of the pie once he got elected. That was not the people in his campaign. That was people in his campaign were kind of thrown to the side.
Do you think that you could like connect the tissue, bring forth the connective tissue a lot better as to how this is like him being against Project 2025 for bad reasons?
You're asking me like why is he against it, or are you asking me how he's disavowed it? What is your question?
Well, I guess I'm wanting to, with everything that was said between me and you about how that I theorized, maybe Trump is disavowing Project 2025 because he woke up to the real snakes that they are or whatnot. How does that like?
I don't think that's.
Excuse me. How is it whether or not that they were elite before or after?
They were never elite.
Therefore,
the people in Project 2025.
Therefore, whoa. Yeah. Therefore, Trump is bad for disavowing Project 2025.
The people in Project 2025 aren't really elite. They're just American citizens who put forward a plan, and they're actually at a lower level. They haven't really been at a higher level. Some of the people, I think, in the what's it called, the Ford Foundation or whatever it is, like they're from an organization that's a bit bigger, but specifically this project, it's not really full of elites. Is the point? Like it's a lot of like
Well,
kind
as
of.
the theory goes, maybe he's waking up to the possibility that it's a Chinese psyop.
It's not a Chinese psyop. That doesn't make any sense.
Sure, I mean, again, I'm not saying whether or not it's true or not, but Trump
If
believes in
he's
some
waking
rather
up,
cockamamie,
well,
kooky
it's
things.
the phrase you're using, waking up. You mean he believes like waking up implies that you believe it's true. You mean he believes that it's? I believe that. I
He
believe that.
believes that he
I
could
believe
believe
that.
that it's true, but also he could be wrong at the same
I
time.
believe Miriam Adelson is definitely telling him it's like a Chinese psyop or it's like a troll leftist psyop. I believe that's what she called and told him about, actually, or him. I don't know. Miriam sounds like a girl's name, so I don't know. The one who gave him a bunch of campaign money like 3 months ago. After, by the way, she forced Trump to say that he was going to disavow Project 2025 and fully back Israel. She literally said she was withholding all of his money. He said those two things, and then boom, the campaign donation came in. So I do believe there are people who are definitely coercing him into saying those things. I think that he is being convinced, so to speak. Yes.
Okay. So you mind reiterating what your answer was to my question of what should be the focus of our political focus? And then I mentioned all these different values, and you said none of them. And then what was it that you said?
I believe that we should be putting leaders who are
Oh yeah, you
American,
said we should be
Christian
putting forth.
conservatives. Yes.
We should be
Yep.
okay.
And that
Actually,
doesn't
now that
include
I think
those
about it,
things. That will.
now that I think on the flow of the conversation a lot better, it seems that the whole Project 2025 thing was a bit of a irrelevant side tangent to the question of whether or not that Trump is Christian or not.
Oh, is that the question? Was Trump Christian? I don't think that was the question.
Well, it wasn't okay. It wasn't a question I put forth, but you said we should like only be electing Christians into office,
It's because you said no. I
and
remember.
then I
Because you
said in
said, well,
that
maybe
case we should
Trump
be
could- yeah, yeah.
rejecting Trump.
And I gave you the reasons why I might be considering it. Yeah. I'm not completely against Trump at this point. I might still vote for him. To me, we are at a point where I'm kind of like, maybe Trump would be enough to keep us going forward for 4 more years rather than completely stepping backwards with Kamala Harris at this point since Joe Biden's out. I really am getting tired though of only voting for candidates because I hate the other one so much.
Sure.
Especially because it's like, what are we going to do after Trump? What if Mitt Romney runs again and he's our guy? Like, I know for a fact I'm not voting for Mitt Romney in 2028. It's just not going to happen. So at this point, it's like, maybe I do vote for Trump this election, but then what? Like, when is enough? When is it time to withhold my vote from a Republican candidate? And it feels like if it doesn't get there this election, it's going to be their next election unless we put someone very good forward. If it takes the Republican Party collapsing on itself because they can't get a president in for 10 years, 8 years, like maybe that's what we need. I don't know. Like I really don't know. I feel like if we keep doing the pendulum swing and voting in these mediocre candidates, it's like rewarding a child for bad behavior. They think they can just do the bare minimum and get away with it, and people are still going to vote us in anyway because we've just told them how bad the other person is. I'm kind of over that. I really am.
I definitely sympathize, and a conversation could be held later on whether or not that Trump is like an ideal enough candidate per according to our values to vote for. I don't know if I find it within me to go on that tangent right now. I guess what I want to say about the whole point of our focus should be on voting in Christians instead of anyone else who is like either explicitly not a Christian or just not a true Christian,
Right.
whatever, however that we can extrapolate that out of Christian self-proclaimed Christian politicians, because there could be an argument to be made that no politician at all is a true Christian, because you have to lie in order to become a politician, or to maintain your political freaking career. And you lying so much, does that mean that you are truly a Christian?
I would have. You know what's funny is I was talking about this to someone else. I think it was my brother. We were talking about how one issue with the democracy, or the democratic republic, is it's a form of governance that it incentivizes very bad people to rise to power, and also minimizes consequences for those people because we switch them out so much. So someone who runs for president, ultimately, no matter how good they are, right, you can find the best candidate. Maybe just the fact that they're running for office is an issue. Like, why are they seeking that power, right? It's almost like the only person who should be president is someone who doesn't want to run, who didn't look to be president. That's the type of person you should be electing. But the catch-22 is you're never going to get that, because the only people who run for president are people who run for president, who want to be president. So that's the broader question you're asking is, in this system, how can we have that? And I mean, it's
Right.
difficult. It's difficult. I think you're not going to get someone who's perfect. You're going to have to really struggle, and they're going to still make mistakes, and that goes for any leader in power at all. But I mean, yeah, there are particular issues here, and I think that we definitely shouldn't be, seeking pure perfection, because that is going to be impossible. But I think, in a nation that's a little more selective, I don't think it'd be as hard. In a nation that was more Christian, I don't think it'd be as hard. But that's neither here nor there, because we are where we are now, so we have to make best of what we have. I can't establish a perfect Christian president any more than I can establish a new monarchy. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess on that point, to kind of bring it back a bit, what I have to say in response to that is that I personally, I don't know how you feel about this, I'd rather vote for an atheist, or at least non-believing Christian, or slash libertarian, over that of a Christian leftist. I mean, it's kind of been a mantra that I have been living by for the last 10 plus years. I would rather vote for somebody who does not believe in the same God that I do, but still wants to preserve economic freedom and gun liberties, over that of somebody who proclaims, supposedly, at least, and maybe even I believe them, they truly do accept Jesus as their savior. But at the same time, they cannot say that I'm allowed to own an AR, or run my business however that I want to. I'd rather vote for the former guy than the latter guy. How do you feel about that sort of sentiment?
Well, generally a leftist. The thing is, if the leftist only issue was they're going to restrict my gun rights a little, and restrict my business a little, that really wouldn't be as big of a problem, because Republicans already do that to some extent. I mean, Trump had the bump stock ban. My deeper issue is that
Well,
Democrat Christians are going to do a lot more than just slight economic.
How about maybe it's not a realistic scenario. Could you like stay within the rhetorical scenario that I set up, though?
Sure.
How do you
You're
feel?
asking me who I would rather vote for?
Yeah, I'm not trying to say that Trump is like some kind of non-believing conservative slash libertarian.
Right.
I'm not trying to say that Biden or Harris is some kind of Christian leftist. I'm just saying that if somebody like truly held the beliefs that I just espoused right there, how do you feel about that sentiment of who would you rather vote for?
So you're saying Joe Biden versus Vivek Ramaswamy, someone who has pretty conservative values, American values, but isn't Christian, versus someone who's supposedly Catholic and has very leftist values. Would that be a good comparison?
Sure, him, or even like someone like Austin Peterson, for example, if you ever heard of him.
Is he atheist?
Yeah, he's like agnostic, but he really believes in libertarianism, and at least has a respect for Christianity, in the sense that in a sense that leftists don't.
I'm going to be honest. I think I'd just sit out that election. If Trump was an atheist, I would sit out the election.
I guess this is the fundamental nub right here. We just have like a totally radically different ideas of what our priorities should be, because the whole reason as to why that well, I don't even know if it applies even, but the whole nub and reason as to why that I believe what I believe and have been saying what I have been saying is I think that regardless of whether or not you have the clean cut conservative traditional family nuclear family values, and also runs a business that he poo-poos smoking a pot and even like homosexuality and all that other stuff, and versus the guy who's into promiscuous sex, goes to nightclubs, but he also believes in like gun rights and other stuff like that, of libertarian values, kind of smokes weed occasionally, that both them two guys can come together at least to vote for the same guy because they both mutually believe in the bigger goal of we preserve our economic liberties, gun rights, and even our religious and free speech liberties as well. Because honestly, I guess my thought has been like, I would rather let's even pretend that leftists don't really believe in Christianity, that they just want to like buckle to the atheists all the time, saying that oh, we need to start forcing churches to do gay marriage and all that stuff. Whether or not that the Democrat in this scenario that I'm setting up here is Christian or truly believes in Christianity or not, they're buckling to the atheists and think churches should conduct the gay marriage, versus the libertarian atheist who's run for the Republican ticket or whatever the alternative ticket might be. They understand the freedoms of association, therefore churches should not be forced to conduct a gay marriage if they don't want to, or at least it should be an issue left to the states anyways. I would vote for the libertarian right there in a heartbeat, because at least he has more of a, even though he personally does not accept Jesus as his savior, and I would pray to God that he would sometime, at the end of the day, he's still like on a fundamental understanding of Christian, kind of more Christian than the Christian who's buckling to atheist who's running for the Democratic ticket. And so I think that's and not to say that Biden versus Trump or Harris versus Trump is like a mirror image of that, but still I think it might be a little bit closer to what I am saying than not. But in regards of, actually, I think it might be similar to what I'm saying right here, because maybe there's a possibility that Trump does not truly believe that churches should be able to freely associate however they want, conduct a gay marriage or not of their own choosing, and then Harris and Biden think that churches should be forced to that. Maybe my analogy is more apt to that. I don't know. With me framing it in that sort of way, I don't know if I've rambled too long to where that I've caused you to fall asleep, listen to me or something, but how do you feel about that when I put it that way, though?
I feel like it's a sad state of affairs where if this is a scenario that you're laying out that is exactly how, or very similar to how you've described it, I feel like we've been duped. Like, how have we gotten in such a position where these are our options? Like, why do we let this happen? And to me, I wouldn't want to play along, because to me it's like, okay, so yeah, we staved it off for 4 more years and this guy did this. Okay, great. Are we getting the Indian prayer lady next? I know that's extreme, and that's not, we're not getting the Indian prayer yet, like you said in your other video. I understand that, but we've already ceded so much ground. I'm not going to cede any more ground. I have my principles on this. I want a Christian conservative leader. I want someone who's going to have values that are eternal. And honestly, when I say conservative, I don't just mean like, oh, let's go back to a previous time. To me, we are in the here and now, and between now and 4 years from now, it's going to be 2028, and I don't need to take us back to 1958. 2028 is going to be what it is, and I think we need a leader who can take those values into the future. And I don't think we're going to get there if we have the Overton window is shifted to this very middle mediocre ground where no one gets what they want, right? And if we don't vote, we're going to lose everything. That feels very much like an abusive parent threatening us. Like, oh, we're gonna, if you don't vote in our guy, like the Republican Party literally does this, by the way. Like some of their people, they'll put it up. They'll be like, well, if you don't do this, this is what we're gonna get. It's like, you know what? We really need to start saying no to this. It's like, no, put up someone better. If you ever like you want power so badly, it's like, how's this? Put up someone better, or no one gets anything. That's what I think. I think no one should get anything. No one on our supposed side should get any position of power if they're going to half-ass it. And they can threaten all they want. I'm going to be honest.
Well, I guess we have to get to our understanding of what half-assing means in this case.
Half-assing is you all you could muster was a libertarian atheist for a Christian conservative party. No thanks.
I feel like
I'm just putting it off so that way, instead of forcing gay marriage in church today, it's going to be my kids who have to deal with it. I'm just kicking the can down the road. I'd rather face it right now, actually. Force gay marriage in the churches. See what happens. See what happens.
You think
you're going to get a more conservative leader in the party? That's what's going to happen. That's what eventually you start pushing it.
Did you say ban it in the? Wait, did I hear you right? And you said ban it in the churches?
No, or force it in the churches. Like, see what happens. Like, this is my thing is.
Okay, yeah. What you're saying is that if you elect a Democrat, if we elect a Democrat who's able to get his way, like 100% on this one issue, that it's going to cause the pendulum to swing in the way opposite extreme, and therefore it's going to immediately, within 4 years, cause churches to be given their freedom of association rights back again. Correct?
Let me clarify. I would not vote for the Democrat candidate. I wouldn't. It's not like I'm saying let's just vote that guy in. I still would. I just wouldn't vote. And then if the Democrat,
no, I gotcha. You're saying that if it were out of like your own apathy,
I'd rather face this battle right now than push it down the road with this half-assed, like, oh, at least they're not going to do this. Like, no. If that's what they're working towards, if that's what they really want, and they're going to keep pushing for it, I'm either going to put someone in who can actually fight it, or I'm going to like move on and wait for someone to come who can.
Here's the thing, though. I feel like that there might be a little bit more that you want as far as core issues go than just the guy was a Christian for president.
Right.
So I put forth the scenario of a libertarian atheist who is like running for the Republican ticket, but is also it fully and truly and sincerely believes in respecting religious liberties, giving churches their freedom of association rights and all that other stuff. That isn't enough for you, and all the other stuff too, of like allowing them to be a nuclear family model and all that other stuff, all the freedom of association things that are vital for Christians to be Christians. That ain't enough for you?
No, why would that be our option? Like, why is it so hard for us to all of a sudden?
Because the guy is fighting for values that both you and I believe in, even if he personally does not believe in Jesus.
Why is it so hard for us to put up a Christian candidate? What is going on in our country that it's so hard if that's the case?
The reality of the matter is that we've had nothing but Christians that have been president all of our history. So that's not really part of the so I don't think that's a really part of my point here.
No, I understand.
Whether or not it's hard or not for us to put in a Christian candidate for the Republican ticket for president.
So
it feels like that you want more than just Christians' freedom of association to be Christians to the fullest of their Christian lives. It feels like you want more than just that on a legislative or whatever level. And you feel like in order to get more than just that, the president needs to be a Christian. Like, what other...
Yeah, no, I don't think, like, we've had freedom of association. That's a very simple thing to have. I do believe that there is more to be had than just existence and just living and interacting. I believe that in order to have Christian values, there needs to be a force guiding it. And then this is going to be a shocker, but I think that force needs to be the church and God. I think a man who doesn't go to church, what did we say earlier? A man who doesn't go to church doesn't necessarily mean he's going to hell, but it does mean that he's in spiritual danger. And to me, the leader as a as someone who believes in Christ and someone who believes that we should be a Christian nation, I don't think it bodes well if our leader doesn't go to church and doesn't pray. I think that leaves him open to attack. And I believe that our leader should be going to church and praying.
So what precedent are you afraid of if the president gets elected in office and they end up not being a Christian and they're not going to church?
The precedent is that we have a leader who is subject to spiritual attack and who will not follow through on Christian values and will maybe even go against it, or at the very least be apathetic to it. I believe that someone's actions, it's the same reason why if it turns out like a politician, right, is cheating on his wife, I think we should reconsider our vote for them.
So
I don't think they can be, if they can't be faithful to their wife, I don't think they can be faithful to their country.
So ultimately, it sounds like you just don't believe atheists. If they say that they are fighting for X value, you think
I'm sure they're trying. I'm sure they're trying. It's just like, okay, this is another example. Okay, so my family was asking me why I was leaving our church and going to a different church.
Well, okay, maybe that's a little bit more of a blunt way of trying to put it. Not necessarily that you believe that they're a liar or something like that. You just think that because they're not a Christian, they're more likely to buckle and go against what they campaigned for.
The focus is so much on the negative, and this is the same issue I had when people were asking me why I was leaving the church. They wanted to focus on all the reasons I was leaving the church, and they didn't really care about what I was going towards. Here's the thing: is
keep talking.
We have to go to the flip it on the other side. You're asking me why I wouldn't vote for this person. The real answer is because I believe there's someone better who maybe didn't even get the nomination, but I'm still going to write them in because I believe that with progress, we can get someone like that. So it's not just about what this person is, what's wrong with them or what they aren't. It's more about maybe I believe there's someone on the other side who is better, who I'm going to hold out for them because I don't see any reason why I should settle for less.
Sorry, I just realized that I still had myself muted.
Do you mind if I take a 2-minute break real quick?
You have to pee?
Yes, you guessed it.
Okay, go ahead and take a quick break.
I'll be right back.
I want to establish global anarcho-capitalism, says Night Shift 10,000 based. I'm pretty sure Trumpy Turd is an atheist. Quite the possibility. What if they aren't married? I'll try to remember to ask him that going towards the end of this topic, but there's still like something else that I want to mention about this issue. Excuse me. I probably should have muted myself. That was disgusting. Pardon me, folks, for burping on mic. I'll try to remember to ask him that once the context provides, but no promises. I say gun rights, etc., but some people say abortion is the biggest issue. Well, okay. Yeah, I think that all the issues that I mentioned there are important, but I think that abortion is also an important issue. I'm kind of a 2-issue voter. Any politician who's going to work to ban abortion and keep gun rights, I'll vote for, as opposed to somebody who either doesn't have a proven track record for that. But I don't know. At the very bare least, when it comes to a federal office, if a politician is pro-choice and he's like pretty good on all the other issues, and that's the only option I have versus a typical Democrat, well then chances are that I will likely vote for that pro-choice Republican who, at least on the federal level anyways, thinks that the federal government should get out of states' issues when it comes to abortion. That's what I think should be the bare least expectation when it comes to somebody running for federal office. When it comes to state office, I will take abortion a little bit more heavier into consideration on who I vote for.
Agreed.
Oh, okay. You're back. Glad that we can agree on something. No, I'm kind of kidding.
We have different perspectives. I think we agree more than we think, though. I think we have a lot of different perspectives on things, and it makes it seem like we have a bigger divide than we do.
Yeah, for somehow we seem to end up meeting up with each other on issues that we disagree with more times than the issues that we do agree with. So it gives off the so it gives my subconscious, at least anyways,
Right.
the illusion that we disagree like 70% of the time or something, and
We,
that frustrates me.
we agree on gun rights. We agree on abortion. I think we at least agree morally on the LGBT issue, and I think we agree that Christian
Sure.
values are good, and I think we
Yeah.
agree that economic freedom in the proper sense is good.
Yeah. Okay. So to summarize everything that was said right before you had to go take a leak, you think that the reason why that you want to vote for a Christian versus an atheist, even if hypothetically speaking, purely hypothetically speaking here, anyways, say it's the Republican primaries and it's come down to the final two guys who have pretty much the same exact values, even on a law level when it comes to religious laws like freedom, therefore freedom of association in that regards and everything. The only difference is that one of them personally believes in Jesus, the other one personally does not believe Jesus is our Lord and Savior. In that scenario right there, you trust the Christian to not buckle to outside pressures more than you trust the atheist to not buckle to outside pressures that makes them want to go against what they're campaigning.
Yeah, and they have the same policies and the same like background and the same history on issues as well.
Pretty much, let's say in this hypothetical, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to vote for the Christian. I do believe that someone who personally believes in Christ is going to be more equipped to follow those principles.
Okay, I guess maybe it might be a little bit of a bad scenario even for my case, because ultimately, if I had two people of the exact same principles and background and everything, I probably would ultimately vote for the Christian just because of personal bias of feeling more in kindredship with freaking Christians than that of atheists. No offense, Night Shift 10,000, you're still my bro. Sorry to like if I end up singling your
thing too.
out.
I want to mention that at a personal level, I can be friends with people I don't agree with. It's more of an issue of who do I want leading us. Like I can be friends with someone who maybe doesn't agree with me on all the issues, like, but I'm not going to want to put them in charge necessarily.
Maybe kindredship was like the wrong wording, but still, but just on a personal bias level, I probably would vote anyway. But let's say we have two Republicans that have mostly the same principles and background that they're campaigning on and everything, except the Christian believes fully in gun rights and even freedom of association. But did I say atheist or Christian? I meant to say atheist. The atheist fully believes in gun rights and freedom of association, and the Christian, but the Christian does not believe in gun rights. He thinks that maybe there should be more restrictions, maybe even red flag laws and all that stuff. And he kind of is fickle as far as like freedom of association goes. You would vote for the Christian over the atheist in that scenario?
Sounds like the Christian's a liar if he's against Christians' freedom of association. So no, I'm sitting this election out. Sounds like he's lying about his beliefs. Sounds like he's what we would call lukewarm Christian. It sounds like he doesn't actually believe in God-given rights. It sounds
okay,
like,
maybe a freedom of association was. Man, I'm making off these.
I know, I understand.
Sorry, I'm making off these scenarios off the fly here.
It's okay.
Maybe freedom of association should not come into play here. One of them is fully for gun rights, the atheist, that is, but the Christian is not. In fact, he wants red flag laws and other stuff like that. You would vote for the Christian over the atheist?
Probably, yes.
Cringe.
Depends how extreme he is, I suppose. Once again, if it's extreme enough to where I think once again he's lying about what he actually wants, I might sit it out again. Like I really think that a lot of these issues that they're
in this scenario, he's not lying about freedom of association and his Christian beliefs. The only thing that is the big fat con is that he wants to take away ARs and institute red flag laws.
No, I'd probably sit it out, honestly. I don't know. It really depends what state we're in. If I think that if I think he's going to like actually ban guns, I might sit it out because I think that one, how did you get into the Republican Party on that campaign? The NRA alone would have stopped you, I would think, but I guess the NRA is kind of in a sorry state right now as well.
Realistically, it wouldn't happen. Maybe some made up party in the distant future, and not specifically the Republican Party. But I would vote for the pro-gun atheist in a heartbeat.
I don't like when I say I don't like these options, I only say that because it's not like I'm forced to vote between them. I could just sit it out, and you seem to be making a lot more scenarios where it's like, okay, maybe I'll just sit it out. Like I don't think, this is the thing, I don't think voting is the be all end all of life, and I think that
no, I'm not.
The idea that, like,
look, Chris.
Yeah.
You know me. I voted for Evan McMullen in 2016.
JD Vance, by the way, put forward Evan McMullen against Trump because he thought Trump was Hitler. So that's our VP, by the way. That's why another reason I don't like JD Vance. I think he's a liar.
But you know me. I'm very sympathetic to the idea of not voting and voting third party and all that other stuff.
Sure.
Excuse me. I had to burp there. You know me, so I'm not trying to say that you have to vote in these scenarios. If the scenario was to ever come up in the future, we're just, the reason why I'm setting up these scenarios the way that I am is that I'm trying to like explore this whole principle and idea of who that we allow to speak on conservative platforms, who we have within our coalition or whatever else have you, and why. And for the last 32 to 45 minutes, I've been trying to talk about what should our core issues be. And honestly, I mean, it almost sounds like that for everything that was stated right here, we have the same core issues. I mean, in all reality, people, we don't really have the same core issues quite, because I think Kris wants transgender procedures, even those for adults, to be banned and all that other stuff. But in this conversation and scenarios that I've set up, we seem to be in agreement of the same core issues. Just you don't trust the atheists to hold up their word. As I mean, that might not. I don't know. Am I oversimplifying?
You're also taking it from such a practical standpoint. It's not just practicality. It's not like, oh, I'm so scared of the atheists. It's also like, I just don't feel like I should vote in that election. I don't feel like it's what I want to vote for. Maybe the atheist is going to do a decent job even. I just don't want to put my vote towards that because I believe that I should vote for people who are Christian, or at least seem to profess it, because I can't know them in their hearts, but seem to profess it and do their best to follow it. It's not just a practicality thing. It's a deeper issue than that.
Are you voting for the president of your country, or are you voting for the pastor of your church?
The president of my country, who I believe is also a leader of the country. And so
yes, but the duties of the president is not to be pastor, is the thing.
I am aware of that. But to some extent, there is still a spiritual aspect to the leadership. If that weren't the case, then it's not like I'm voting for who's going to be my local DPS manager. The president gives speeches that speak to the spirit of the nation. The president does. And by the way, even though the president should not be a spiritual leader, a pastor or a priest, as you would say, I do believe the president should be led by a spiritual leader, a pastor, and then above all, God. A pastor, a priest. If a president is not led by any of those things, I don't really know what they're led by, to be honest. So no, I don't think the president should be that, but I do think they should have one of those. I do believe that it is an important thing for them to have a priest, have a pastor, have a spiritual leader.
Okay, I think we'll leave it off of that. So, how much longer do you think you can go?
How much longer do you want to go? I could do another 30 minutes. I do
just
have to,
30?
Yeah, 30.
Crap. I was kind of wanting to go on about some other issues. Very quickly from Night Shift in the chat, what if they aren't married?
Who?
The whatever rhetorical candidate for president.
Is that an issue? What if they
Yeah,
aren't married?
yeah. If they aren't married, is that an
Oh, is he?
automatic
He's referring to the
disqualifier?
cheating thing. Is he referring to the cheating thing?
I
I don't
don't
know.
think so. I think you might be just be pulling something completely out of the ether, kind of like the same way that I have been with all these rhetorical
Yeah.
scenarios I've been coming up with.
I mean, I will say, I mean, being in a marriage and being in a successful marriage is a good indicator for if you're a good leader or not. I don't think it's necessary. I think most presidents have been married, and I think it can be a good thing. I don't necessarily. It's kind of a non-issue to me. If they aren't married because they're like kind of selfish and just like chasing after their career constantly and just are like they're players and they'll talk about how they like had all these relationships and never formed into a marriage. I take that into consideration. But let's say they're like a person who's celibate in the church, who's dedicated themselves to God and is now running for specific issues. I mean, that could be a scenario where maybe I vote for someone who had never been married. If it really just seems like they're a player who doesn't want to settle down, then I'm going to take that into consideration. Just depends, I
Okay.
suppose. Kind of
All
an
right.
interesting question.
And I'm going to just stick with the RNC issue, and then we can try and quickly move on to interracial marriage. Maybe we should move on to that right now because it's probably going to be a bit of a lengthy one. No,
Maybe.
I'm going to just stick on this. Maybe we'll have to live stream some future time. But so rewinding it back to specifically the issue of the RNC, with everything that was laid out here in length in the last hour and a half, as far as values and what our core issues should be as a right-leaning movement. Let's pretend that Trump is an actual true Christian. He's like come to regret all of his adulterous affairs and everything else. But there is like some atheists, some non-believers of the Christian faith, some people who are like rather flawed and within conservative beliefs, like for example, Amber Rose, the porn model. She's highly flawed in that area as far as and plus she's kind of pro-choice, I guess, as well. But you have these two people who are not exactly the stereotypical conservative. They still want to support Christian Donald Trump, and they kind of want, and they're given the opportunity to speak why it is that they believe in Donald Trump and all that stuff. You still think that that is bad, though?
Here's the reason, okay? This is the issue I'm really facing. This is something I was talking to my friend about who went to the RNC. They're talking about, like, why shouldn't they be able to speak? I just want you to look at, like, all the people who weren't able to speak because these people got to speak instead. It's not that I'm against them endorsing Trump or against them being for Trump. They could have done that in a Twitter video. They could have done, they have these platforms, right? Why did they have to speak at the RNC? But look at who they're leaving out. You can say what you want about him. Nick Fuentes, Alex Jones, Paul Joseph Watson. Even since we're using Indian women, why not use a European?
Wait, all these people spoke at the RNC?
No, these are people that are very conservative in my mind, who have been very loyal to Trump, who have been very, very loyal to Trump, who support Trump fully, and have a very substantial audience actually, who are not allowed to speak. And by the way, Nick's not even allowed at the RNC. He's not allowed at the RNC or Turning Point. Or
I don't think he should be banned from events, but him not being selected as a speaker, I would have more an issue with him than anyone else. Sorry.
Why do these people who have been pro-Trump and have American values and who have endorsed him and been speakers in the movement, and it's not just them, it's a lot of other people, they get sidelined, right? And they get time taken out. Like, they're not allowed to speak at these events, and they don't even get to be there. But instead, we're going to put these other people up who have just converted, who they have this and that about them, and they're going to speak. So it's not just about why do they get to speak. It's like, okay, but look who they're excluding. Look who they are replacing. So it's not just, oh, well, why don't you want them in here? They don't want us in here. They don't.
Honestly,
they don't. They would. They want to see us out. They want to see people who, like me, who are very conservative. They don't want us in the movement. They would rather replace us, and that's my issue.
Hold on. You think that Amber Rose doesn't want you to be in the movement?
Yes. No, absolutely. No, I think she would. I don't know about her specifically. But I know that there are a lot of Republicans who they would rather her be up front than me. Yeah.
A lot of other Republicans, sure, but I thought you were like talking about the people who were allowed to speak are the type of people who have an issue with someone like you being
Yes.
within the
Oh, yeah.
movement or
No, they
whatever.
do. Absolutely. Caitlyn Jenner is another example. She spoke a few years ago, I think, right? She, he, it's a he. Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner would not want me in the movement. Caitlyn Jenner would, if someone asked,
I mean, I guess
they
which
would
came
say
first, the chicken or
I'm
the
a
egg?
hateful person who doesn't actually belong in the movement. That's someone who gets to speak, though.
I guess which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did you want them not in the movement first, or did they not want you in the movement
Well, it
first?
doesn't matter now. They're in charge of it, right?
I think it kind of does matter because if there were like conservatives who were saying we must actively exclude these people out, well, then I
They
say
did
it's not a
that.
surprise that they said that, hey, they don't want you in the movement.
They've actively excluded us, and they've actively included these other people. Yes. Just
Did you
FYI.
not hear what I said?
No, I did. You're asking me which came first. You're asking me did they actively
No. What I
exclude
said after that.
which thing? Maybe.
I said it's not much of a surprise. I mean, if there were like XYZ people who were saying who are actively saying and pushing to exclude all these different groups of people from being within the movement for frankly petty reasons, then it's not too surprising to me as to why these people would say I don't want you in the movement either,
No,
dude.
I agree. No, it's not surprising. I'm just some people seem to be surprised by it.
Well, that's the problem, dude. This is divisiveness right here.
I
Just
agree. It's very
people are
divisive.
like feeding into the division. You're feeding into the
How
division
am
with
I
them.
defeating into the
They're
division?
feeding to the division with you, and it's
How?
just frustrating to me.
It's frustrating to me that a lot of us have been kicked out. That's the more frustrating thing. Oh, it's divisive. It's like they kicked us out. It's divisive because they kicked us out. That's a very divisive thing to do, is to kick very conservative men out of the movement. Very, very
Yes,
divisive.
but
I agree. Who started it? I didn't
yes,
ask
but there
them.
was the division of where the conservatives were all like ban transgenderism, ban homosexuals
That's
from
not the
doing their
reason.
homosexual shit.
That's not the reason they were kicked out. It's one of the reasons, but I mean, um,
I mean,
no, that's
yeah,
not
I
it.
mean, whatever other reasons that there might be, but these reasons that I mentioned are kind of reasons that aren't important as far as preserving the American Constitution goes. Because it's not like that there's
It's very
any
important.
constitutional amendment saying, oh, transgenderism shall not be allowed or something.
I just, it's, I find the inclusivity line interesting. That's all. Who gets included? Who gets excluded? That's my issue.
Sure, and I mean, if we're talking about okay, for the last few minutes, we were talking about exclusivity within the movement as a general whole. But if we're talking about exclusivity for who is allowed to speak on as big of a platform as the RNC specifically, honestly, I personally would have more of an issue with the fact that Nikki Haley was allowed to speak than Amber Rose or the pagan lady.
Honestly, I mean, I probably agree with you on that too. I don't know because once again, like Nikki Haley does have all the donor money, so it makes more logical sense for them. But yeah, no, Nikki Haley is going to have a position in Trump's cabinet, and to me, I think she should. I don't think she should get any of that. I think her opposition to Trump should net her nothing. I think that her policy should net her nothing. But she's going to get it because she has the donors, the backers.
Yes, I mean,
yeah, I have an issue with that too. She's also
the biggest reason is because she does have a record of going against Trump more harshly than even Ron DeSantis has.
Yeah,
at least Ron DeSantis and Trump, there was once an alliance, and as soon as
DeSantis, when he dropped out, he said he followed the vow and said, "I'm gonna endorse Trump." Nikki Haley took like 3 months to do it.
He did mention his problems that he still does have with Trump as a bit of a caveat with his endorsement. So I do think, as much as some people, ranting monkey, might have an issue with the fact that he was putting in those caveats right there, I still think that it's at least a sign that at least DeSantis was being honest with his endorsement of Trump. It's all like, oh yeah, I endorse him, but I don't agree with him on everything. The fact that he added the I don't agree with him on everything gives a little bit more of legitimacy to his endorsement, I think. Truthful legitimacy.
I suppose so. But no, I mean, I agree with you on the Nikki Haley thing. I do think that the bomb signing lady getting to speak at the convention after fighting against Trump speaks to a deeper issue than just some randos. The randos, they're kind of a secondary thing. The Amber Roses, the Nala Rays, they're all like a symptom. Nikki Haley is one of the causes, though. Nikki Haley takes pride in working with the military-industrial complex to forward wars. She is of much more consequence. But you have to follow the money there and figure out why that is. Why are these symptoms popping up? What are the root causes? And to me, Nikki Haley is maybe more of a cause, but you get closer to or more of a symptom, but you get closer to the root cause with someone like her. You get closer to what is actually going on rather than just why are these people who were never conservative speaking? Because, like I said, these people, here's the best way to describe it, right? Diversity, let's say in the Republican movement, but in our society, the diversity hires, the DEI quotas, those aren't causes, they aren't diseases, they are symptoms of a disease in my mind. The way that we project it, it's not that there are more Black people speaking at the Republican National Convention that's the issue, but but you have to ask why that is happening. Why is it that it's all these white people
starting to accumulate more Black people in general?
Yeah, that's their goal. But
I think that might be part of the reason why they chose Amber Rose, is to connect with some of those Black people, be it they're either on the fence or they have actually become like new people.
But do you see what we've done now?
Are within the Republican face.
This is my issue, though. It's not just that. It's not just, do you have an issue with these people being here? It's that we've basically become like the Democrat Party in that we see identity, right? We see these things that the Republican Party, and I don't necessarily agree with it. They used to pretend like, we don't see color, that we're not like the leftists. We don't pander to the Black vote. More pandering to the Black vote, because we realize that there is an identity among them that we have to now go after, right? And anyone who says, that's not true, they're literally, why would they need to do that then? Why would they need to, if they don't believe that, because you can say, it's not true. They clearly believe it's true because Trump explicitly talks about the Black vote. If the Republicans didn't believe in identity politics, they wouldn't be talking about that.
Unfortunately, I think there is a grain of truth with what you're saying, but think about it. Like, the Black community at large has been brainwashed so much into these race baiting tactics of the Democrat Party, of where that they vote like 80, 90, even more % Democrat, purely just because you have all these race grifters and race baiters like the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons and all that stuff, saying Republicans are racist because XYZ bullshit reason or whatever. But what if that is what is part of what is required to break the brainwashing, is to have more Black people speaking? And I know it seems bad. It might be a slight bit of a tokenization, but what if, I mean, I'm not going to say that it is actually required, but what if that is something that is actually required because our society has been so ingrained and used to this kind of thinking?
I don't think that's what's required, though. I agree that that's what it's gotten used to. I think that's the wrong way to go about it. I think Donald Trump is white, and he got a better portion of the Black vote in 2016 than any Republican president had in a long time. And that was without him really trying to pander to the Black vote, by the way. He just him on his own was able to do that.
I feel like I want to ask another question for clarification. Sorry. Yeah, so we're kind of talking in relation to Amber Rose here. And of course, she's a Black, and that might be part of the reason as to why that that RNC committee members have chosen her, is because of the fact that she's, well, half Black. It almost seems like she doesn't look fully Black. But just saying. But anyway, that might be part of the reason. And what if they chose a Black person to speak up there, but wasn't a porn star? Do you think that it's not a DEI issue at that point?
This is the issue. You mean at the RNC, right?
Yeah, at the
There were like
RNC.
7 or 8 black people that went up before her, like on the first date. So my issue isn't, oh, well, what if it was a, okay, so then it would be the 9th black person that went up. It's like, okay, this is, my issue is not with the black people. I have no issue with black people, okay? Oh, some of my best friends are black. Yeah, some of my best friends are black. No, it's
Fuck.
no, it's funny. I made a joke. I made a joke the other day because me and my one black friend, I will admit, I have like one. We were joking, and
Wow.
we agree on a lot of issues that you and I disagree on. But I made a joke to someone. I was like, I go up, I'm like, oh, they're like, you're racist.
This
It's
black
like, oh
friend
yeah,
of
well,
yours
my
this black friend of yours is about as libertarian as I am.
no. He's gonna fall on my side. So on the
Oh,
Jewish
never mind.
conspiracy stuff. But it was like, oh, you're racist. It's like, oh yeah, well, my one of my best friends is black. It's like, that doesn't make you not racist. It's like, who said anything about not being racist? Anyway, sorry.
Wow. Was that supposed to be like some kind of humorous thing that you were
Yes.
attempting, or did you realize, or did you think, oh man, I fucked up right there?
Oh no, that was, I thought that was funny. When I said it to the person, they were really taken aback, but I found it to be funny. Personally, to me, I'm not really concerned with people calling me racist.
Well,
Anyway,
so your issue is not even so much Amber Rose speaking up there. As far as the whole DEI thing, it's more that what?
Why are we disproportionate? Well, what's like, okay, so we're a white majority country. I have nothing against a black person who's actually conservative and Christian speaking. Nothing. It's fine.
You think that RNC chose a bunch of black people to speak up there purposefully because they're trying to do some kind of cringe Disney-esque DEI bullshit?
Yep, absolutely. If I know it's a little higher now, but let's say it's 15%.
Do you have anything more to? I don't know.
One in every 7 people is a black speaker. Why is it like one in every
6 or 7? That's not Disney levels of DEI diversity.
No,
shit.
I'm saying why wouldn't it, like, if we're looking at a 15% black population, why wouldn't it be 1 in every 7? Why is it like every other person speaking is black? Like, why is that going on? To me, the Republican Party isn't just like a black party. It's a majority white party. So why the disproportionality? And people can say like, oh, that doesn't matter. It's like, it matters if you're explicitly like, you know what? You don't get to speak because you're white and we need more black people up there today. That is an issue. That is discrimination against white people.
You have some way to back that up other than just it being a theory?
I can pull up the stream of the RNC and show you all the...
No. I believe you on the physical people that were brought up there, but the underlying thing of RNC did this intentionally because they're trying to pander to black people in the same way that Disney does or something like that. Do you have something to back that up more, or is it just a theory?
I mean, I can,
more than anything,
mostly a theory, but I can find like different politicians talking more and more about the black vote and how they need it. Like, it's, to me, it's not so much like, oh, I think they're doing this. Like, they pretty explicitly say they're doing it. Like, oh, we need the black vote. Like, you should vote the black. Like, look at like the average like Republicans Twitter page. Like, they talk a lot more about black people and like how like real like the real Democrats were the real racists and slave owners. Like, they talk a lot more about that now than they did before. Like, that's not just a theory. That's just like, I'm seeing it happen in front of me.
Not to seriously like refute or rebut what you're saying, but there is another angle to be to approach this about, and there is the idea because in my personal experience, I've been like seeing more white, crazy, fruity, and no, that's not a pejorative for gay necessarily. Hipster white leftists out there than there are black hipster, or at least people that are like outwardly and use their aesthetic as a political show. You know, drag queens and all that shit. That kind of shit seems to be more apparent within white people more often than black people. And so maybe that's the reason why Republicans are pursuing it this way, is because, oh man, the white people who was originally our base, they're becoming more and more leftist because they're like drinking the soy and getting influenced by the college campuses and all that shit.
Huh? Gen Z, by the way, you could put Gen Zers up there. Gen Z is the most, especially among white Gen Z, they're the most conservative generation in like 5 generations. Like that's
I thought you were saying something in jest or bantering with me,
No,
but what I was gonna say, like in finishing right there, is and that black people are potentially theoretically more are becoming because of how much more leftward that white people are becoming because of hipsters and all that shit. They were saying that it seems that black people are becoming more and more, or at least becoming more and more of a share, anyways, of people who are either conservative in practice or at least conservative in theory. And the only reason why they haven't voted for a Republican specifically is because they haven't made some convincing case of conservatism. And they've been lied to about race from Democrats.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that's a possibility? Have you ever thought about that possibility?
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I don't even think that's what you said about like white people being more or you said black people are more conservative. Is that what you said? Or black people are less like fruity?
That's kind of what I said there. Just, I mean, maybe fruity is like a little bit of a too slanderous, not necessarily slanderous, but too harsh of a word to put it. But I'm just saying that I've seen more white hipsters than I have black hipsters in my life. People that have the hipster aesthetic as some obnoxious political statement, and that comes inherently with the property of them being some kind of far left Twitter roamer.
I don't know if I have an issue with the hipster persona per se. I'm gonna like,
and like whereas black people, I mean, let's be honest, the non-sagging kind of, not to be insensitive here, people, the non-sagging hood kind of look, in my honest opinion, wait, shut up. Seems more conservative to me than some extreme hipster aesthetic.
Okay. Here's the thing.
Sorry for saying shut up at you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No, I was trying to collect my thoughts. I don't even see the hipster thing as much as I see the, like, for lack of a better term, Uyghur thing. The white people acting hood. I see that a lot more actually now than I do the hipster side. So to me, I'd rather actually have the hipsters than the hood thing at all. Like I actually, like, hipsters, like, they're a little annoying, but like, okay, so they're right about Starbucks. First of all, hipsters will only go to like the artisan coffee shops, and the artisan coffee shops are way better. The whole hood thing, like, we're talking about people who listen to like garbage music, who like wear garbage clothes. Like, yeah, hipsters look a little goofy, but at least their clothes like fit them. But also, like, what's even hipster? Okay, maybe it's where I live. People just, other than the hood, right? The hood side, and I live in Texas, so a lot more. Like,
I mean, yeah, you live in like the Houston area. I live in Wichita, which might be arguably a little bit more red than Houston. Sorry.
Yeah. The white people here dress normally, like the like there aren't really hipsters here. Like you have some of the younger people who are like hood. The only hipster, the people who like remind me of hipster, like in the way that you're thinking of, like they're specifically the gay people, which also aren't that great of a percentage here, probably greater than it was before. But like most white people, most white people here, they dress either like polo and slacks or polo and jeans, like or a t-shirt and jeans. Like, we're all very just normal white people. We don't have a lot of flair here. We act like, for the lack of a better term, normal people. There is, like, even black people, same thing. Most black people here.
By the way, just to clarify to everybody, disclaimer: Chris is not saying that white people are normal people and black people are abnormal.
No, because and I was about to say, let me clarify. Aside from the people who dress hood, which there are some white kids who do it too, most black people are the same. Mm-hmm. Most black people will wear a polo and slacks or a t-shirt and slacks. And
you're talking about down where you live at?
Yeah, except for the hood, because the hood you're gonna find a little both on both sides. Like a lot of white kids are dressing hood. I'll say that. Like a lot of the alpha, Gen Alpha. But aside from that, most people just dress normally. I will say that. And by the way, those black people would probably get called told to stop acting white by the hood people, but they dress normally, like we all dress normally. I don't even know. I don't think I've seen a hipster since I went to Austin. Actually, Austin still has them.
Oh, I'm sure
Most
that
of the hipsters are
Austin is
gay.
like a shithole of hairy,
Yeah,
smelly hipsters.
it's not as bad as people make it out to be. In my mind,
Oh,
Houston's
really?
worse actually.
Oh, really?
Houston has a lot more crime, I think. Houston has a bigger homeless problem than Austin, shockingly. The highways down in Houston are awful. Don't ever drive during rush hour. You're going to be scared for your life, and you should be. The highway down by Houston is like the most dangerous stretch of highway in America. I'm more afraid of dying of if it was between driving riding on a motorcycle during rush hour traffic down into Houston or just walking through the bad part of Houston. I think I'd rather walk through the bad part of Houston. I felt like I'm going to lose my life on that highway several times. But Austin, honestly, the traffic isn't that bad in Austin. And then, yeah, you got the homeless people. It's the same as it is in Houston. And at least there's stuff to do in Austin. Houston, you've got shitty nightclubs, and then it's just business buildings. Nothing goes on in Houston. Houston is such a boring city. It's not even funny. At least Austin's interesting.
Sure.
There's no culture in Houston.
Not to talk so much about cities and whatnot. I mean, we did get off on too much of an unnecessary tangent. I guess just to add a disclaimer to everybody, hood is not a race. Hood is a personality, and anybody of any race can adapt that kind of personality, aesthetic, and persona, everything else like that. So anybody who wants to cry racism on that point, fuck you. And also, we might have went too much on a tangent about race just in general, but I still kind of am of the belief that, and it's purely just my own personal experience. Maybe I'm inflating my own personal experience a little bit too much to be a projection of the nation as a whole, but I just personally have noticed more white people to be of a leftist bent than black people to be of a leftist bent, or at least an obnoxiously and physical, outward, aesthetically leftist bent. I mean, sure, some of the black people that I met might have revealed that they voted Democrat quite a few times in their life, and they might believe somewhat in the issues of systemic racism and all that shit. But hey, at least they don't want to subvert the family as much as these white trap and drag queen freaks seemingly want to.
True.
So I don't know how to rewind this back. I mean, I don't even know if we got truly to the nub of it, but I don't know. I guess ultimately, I just think even if I was to believe in what you say about I guess if I was to believe in what you say that we need a Christian guy to be president because XYZ reason, I'd say that let's encourage the people who are of a non-stereotypical conservative beliefs, but are at least libertarian or quasi-conservative enough that we can all unite around the same core issues that will ultimately at least allow Christians to flourish. Freedom of association and all that stuff, like we mentioned earlier, then let's encourage them to join our movement. And how do we encourage them to move? We allow people of that non-stereotypical leaning to speak and not make a huge issue about it. As far as them being allowed to speak, like Amber Rose and even the pagan prayer lady, I would have the only way that I would have an issue with the pagan prayer lady is if they start having an issue with a Christian going up there to pray at the RNC. But even then, in that case, I think it would be more the Democrats that would freak out at a Christian praying at the RNC on mic, which would hate the RNC regardless of whether or not whether or not they let pagan prayers go on or Christian prayers go on or not.
Yeah, here's another thing too. It's not just that the pagan prayer happened. I'm more disappointed that none of the speakers that came up after that called it out. This isn't what we need. This isn't what we're for. We don't need these prayers. Trump himself could have been.
I don't know if
I was Trump. You know what I expected Trump to say? I expected him to be what was the name? Akashuji Bagi? I don't even care. If I was him, I would have been like, Akabuyagi did not save me. Jesus Christ and his father saved me from that bullet. That's what I would have done. That would have been iconic. Iconic. That's the iconic stuff we're missing. I would.
Well, that would be a whole lot more. Honestly, that would be a whole lot more tactful than this coverage of oh, she shouldn't have been allowed to pray up there at all.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's the thing is like.
And honestly, I think
I would rather
personally,
go for like.
I feel like not necessarily a call out is necessary, but I think it would have been nicer if somebody who was of Christian faith who followed up after her started giving a Christian prayer. And honestly, the thing that disappoints me more than the fact that they allowed a pagan lady to pray up there is the fact that there were like dozens of Christians in the audience who were bowing their head and praying along with her to Wahi Guru.
Yeah, I want to know who they were. Who's up there? Who all is just like, oh, this is fine. They did an interview. Okay, so I was in the Scouts, and at one camp with a bunch of different like troops and groups, we always do like a service where we'd give like a little like sermon and do like a worship song or something, and then do a prayer right before we leave camp. And at one of our camps, they did like an interfaith service, and our scoutmaster, when he saw that was happening, he walked us out of there. We went back to our camp. We did our own service and then left. Everyone else, including other Boy Scout troops, stayed for the interfaith service to watch all these other services go on. Not us. That's kind of what I want to see. I want to see more walking out. I want to see us saying, you know what, whatever they want to do, fine. We're not an interfaith movement. We're a one faith movement. That's how
I guess that's another thing about this. Like, I didn't even think that American conservatism, that Christianity. I mean, I know that everybody like pulls the whole Christian values. We're a nation of Judeo-Christian values and all that stuff. But
I don't like the phrase Judeo-Christian. I think it minimizes. I think it ruins what Christianity actually is. We're not Judeo-Christian. We are Christian. Judeo is something that Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro had to make them feel better about themselves. We don't have Judeo values. We have Christian values.
I mean, sure, we don't like stone or blasphemers or anything like that, which that is kind of odd.
We also don't believe that Christ is burning in a pit of boiling semen.
That what?
We also don't believe that Christ is burning in hell in a pit of boiling semen like the Talmudic Jews do. I can send you that too.
Okay.
I can send you that too if you'd like. If you like to read some of the verses that their Talmud says, they do not think favorably.
Literally boiling semen.
Sorry, feces and semen. Let me be clear. Yes. And that Mary was a whore who's also burning.
I mean, obviously, they think that anybody who worships Jesus is burning or will burn in hell because it obviously comes with the property.
They will be in the pit with him. By the way, the Christians. Yeah. That's what they believe.
I mean, not surprising. Not surprising.
Shouldn't be.
I mean, it's really not surprising. I mean, they believe that nobody should worship anyone but God. And to them, Jesus is not God. To us, Jesus is God. Right. So
my point is that I don't think we can have commonality with people who believe that about us, about Christ. And this is no longer just someone who is apathetic to Christ. This is someone who actively.
Okay. Can I like? Sorry, before you go on another tangent.
No, I'm done. No, I have to leave soon, so I'm not. That's the end of that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
What I was going to say was, I don't even think that any particular religion, except for a religion that explicitly goes against the U.S. Constitution, is okay. What am I trying to say here? I don't think that any religion goes against American conservative values, except for a religion that explicitly goes against the U.S. Constitution, is my belief right there. And so I until I hear like the pagan lady right there goes explaining within her own denomination of her own religion or whatever the fuck, it goes espousing something that she believes in that goes against American conservatism, the Constitution, all that stuff. I don't see why she can't be included and be even allowed to pray on a conservative platform, like the RNC or something.
I mean, that's fair enough. I might disagree, but I mean, I understand what you mean.
You don't have anything to say in
I mean,
disagreement, or you just don't have the time?
I suppose that what I would end on is that I don't think that the Constitution was made for the American Constitution. I don't think it was made to support pagan gods. I don't think it was made to support Indian gods
It was
or
made to allow them to practice, though.
you're allowed to practice, but if that's going to be the basis of the country, I don't think the Constitution will last. I think eventually, like, okay, if it was a majority Indian in America, I believe we would have an Indian like caste system with Indian like leaders and governance. That's what I believe would happen.
I don't think I don't think that the American Constitution needs to support any religion or
Well,
not in
actually,
order for like people of other religions.
Thomas Jefferson and I think George Washington both said that the Constitution only works in a nation that believes in God, in Christ. So Thomas Jefferson had to say. He said that in a system that doesn't believe in these things will not hold up. In a nation that doesn't believe in God, these things will be destroyed and taken down.
Were they specifically meaning like the Christian God, or were they just meaning like some kind of vague abstract? Because I hear that Thomas Jefferson being non-religious deist and all that stuff.
I think that's false. I believe Thomas Jefferson spoke very fondly of the Bible and of God and of Christ. I think the whole deist thing, I think it's kind of made up, honestly. I don't know.
Okay. Well, the thing that I was going to say, maybe there needs to be like a fair amount of Christians within the country in order to keep up the foundation of the American Constitution and all that other stuff. But I don't remember what exact wording that you said there. You said either establish that the U.S. Constitution establishes or supports or anything, any religion. And honestly, whatever wording you use, I don't think it's really heads or tails as far as any other religion goes. I mean, if Hindu wants to join our cause, if they're all like, "Oh, your God," like it's because of your belief in your Christian God as to why that you think that I should be allowed to practice my religion. Well, okay. I mean, I don't believe in that God, but I'll join your cause because we believe in the same physical world things, at least.
It sounds like that type of person is already moving away from the Indian gods anyway, because I don't think they would support the Constitution that way. I think that a lot of the Indians that are coming over, I think it's kind of a secondary thing anyway. But
I mean, I think that there's a precedent if you ally up with people of any other religion at all, that people might eventually convert, because you start allying up with people, you start becoming friends, and if they become friends, they start to put a good impression on that religion, then you start to second think your own religion, all that stuff.
Saying you run the risk of people coming in and saying, thank you for letting us take advantage of this, thank you for letting us get in control. I think we're good now. I think we're gonna undo this now that we're in control. I think now we don't need the freedoms because we got what we wanted. I think we should definitely be wary of people taking advantage of that.
Well, I'm not talking about like immigrants of other religions that come in from the country and voting Democrat. I'm thinking of Hindus allying up with conservatives because they truly believe in XYZ conservative values. And as far as the pagan lady goes, I've been meaning to mention this. I think I've heard stuff about her like being a lawyer for fighting for conservative causes as well in my listenings of the Ranting Monkey podcast.
Yeah, that's fine.
Maybe I'll have to look that up or something. So I think that there's at least, I mean, if that is true anyways, there is some evidence to believe that she is truly a conservative. Just she has her American conservatism based in something else aside from Christian God.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's possible.
Oh, I guess you're wanting to like wrap this up. If that's,
I do have to wrap it up.
Okay, that seems to be kind of
mark.
That what the kind of mood I've been getting from your voice and all that stuff.
I know. I'm sorry.
Well, there's like plenty more that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to also ask about the interracial marriage thing, and I'm definitely going to have to rename this live stream to something more RNC related, because we didn't even get to the issue of whether or not supporting like gay marriage bans or transgender bans, whether or not that makes the right look good or bad. One of the subjects that we've been arguing about and other stuff.
I know this is a trend with me too. I know we normally go off on tangents and then have to reschedule other topics.
I don't even know if there was like any topic that we had in mind last live stream that we said we're definitely going to have to schedule a future.
I think we actually last time we made through most of it. Last time it was like 3 hours too. This time, just with how things are, like I can only dedicate 2 hours. If you want to do a whole other 2 hours next Monday, I can do it. I could swing it.
All right. I don't know how much I want to make a dedication like that. But we'll definitely keep it in mind. Okay. Hey, thank you, Kris, for joining me for this live stream. Those are that week. Pardon me, I should have muted myself right there. Thank you for joining on with me, and so that we can like talk things out and all that stuff. I know it got kind of heated at multiple points. And so sorry for saying shut up to you at one point.
It's fine. That wasn't a big deal. That was totally fine.
Okay. And any final words?
Christ is King, America first. We will prevail. God's kingdom will prevail, and we just have to have faith and trust in Him, and trust that He has a plan for us, and that we can, if we go towards Him, we can make His kingdom here. That'll be it. That's my general message.
All right, sure thing. And on a later date, we'll talk about issues relating to how extreme the right. We will actually get to issues of how extreme the right should be, as a generality, which was what the title was implying that this subject should be about. But it kind of was, but it kind of wasn't. But all the same, until that time comes around. Thank you all for watching. There was no new questions ever since the last few live chats that I read to you. So that's why we're going to end it off right now. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a good night. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.